It's time, ladies and gents, about to spit about some film reels. Copping the field to seal the deal of what the films reveal. Batman, Superman, even Spider-Man compared to fair against each other, tearing apart the plots that they prepare. But these are just a few examples for the task at hand. On demand with cinematic contraband to shock the fans. To preach the theme titled Film Eat Film. Tis the keen regime for cinema guillotines to rock my rhyme kiln.
Welcome back, movie munchers, to another episode of Film Eat Film. I'm your host, Ben Siski. With me today, we have returning Joey, Notorious B.I.G. Nemi.
Woo! What's up?
And newcomer Colin C. Manuels. Colin,
Hey,
how's
what's
it
going
going?
on, everyone?
And
Thanks
of
for having
course, we've got our stat checker, Scott Icebox Nemi. Scott,
Glad to be back.
glad to have you. Joey, you know the rules. Colin, I'll explain them real quick. And to those of you that are tuning in for the first time, this is Film Eat Film, where we debate essentially 3 different sets of movies, 3 different topics. Each combatant will be graded on 5 different things: how well they know their topic, organization and time management, their arguments, their evidence to support the arguments, and their rebuttals. We did the honorary coin flip prior to the show, and Seawells won, and he chose to go second. So we're going to start things off with Joey. We're going to actually start with Colin's topic, which is, Colin?
Sports movies based off of true stories.
Gentlemen, you guys remember you have 3.5 minutes per round to debate your movie. Joey, you have 3.5 minutes. State your movie and go.
My movie was A League of Their Own. It was made in '92 by Penny Marshall. Now what it is it's about the women's baseball league that actually forms right in the wake of during World War II, when all the men have now gone, all the Major League Baseball players have actually gone to fight the war. So they need some sort of entertainment in the States, and they turn to women's baseball, which is actually a very real league. It's a very real, the characters aren't really real, but the story itself is a very true story. So I went with this. This film was actually nominated for 2 Golden Globes. Didn't win, but it's also got an excellent cast. You have Gina Davis as Dottie Hinson, Tom Hanks as the coach. You got Madonna, Rosie O'Donnell, and Lori Petty as Kit Keller. And now Kit Keller and Dottie Hinson are actually sisters in this movie. That's actually ends up being a very big deal. So in this movie, we have a really big key point of this movie is the gender discrimination that actually goes on in the country around this time. And what I think is very interesting is that it kind of brings back, like, people overlook gender discrimination, like, a lot. That it was actually, at one point, just as big as racial discrimination in this country. And I think that really brings in a concept of originality to this film, because we've seen racial issues over and over again in movies, but it's kind of rare. It gets rarer and rarer that we see a gender equality and gender discrimination end up in films. So that's a really big one. And I also like to say the emotion in this film, not only that is brought to this film, not only from the sports standpoint, but from like the sibling rivalry between the 2 sisters, and like the teammates relationships and the ongoings between them. And also you have to remember that these ladies are playing Major League Baseball in a time where their husbands are over fighting, and could at any moment they could get a telegram saying that they're dead. So it's a very emotional movie, and you don't lose hint of that at all during this movie, because they play on it so well. Tom Hanks does an extraordinary job as the coach, Jimmy Dugan. Amazing. And he brings in a very good keep of humor at points where you would never really expect, and it's just so it fits in so the comedic relief on the part of Tom Hanks in this film is so well done. And also, who could forget Stillwell Angel? You know, you're gonna lose. Perfect comedic relief there. But also the metamorphosis that really every character goes through in this movie is just so big, and like such, it's really pertinent to the story. I mean, you got Tom Hanks very upset about teaching a women's league. You know, women cannot play baseball. He's right there with pretty much everybody else in the country at this time. But as he goes through, seeing his players progress and the relationships that he ends up building with these girls, and at the end of the film, you know, these are women baseball players. These are players. It's a great film, and not enough can really be said about it.
All right. Well, that was pretty close to the time. I'm going to stop you there.
All right, we'll see what I can wing out here.
All right. Your time starts now.
All right, so my film, as I assume most people have seen, is Remember the Titans. It takes place in 1971 in Virginia, where you got Herman Boone, played by Denzel Washington, and he comes in. They integrate a black school and a white school, and the district makes him the head coach of the football team, which makes the whole town angry because Coach Yost was the guy before him. I guess he had 15 straight winning seasons, and he was actually eligible to be inducted into the Virginia Hall of Fame that year for coaching. So to just take this newcomer from a different state and put him in, especially in 1971, yeah, that got the people going. A lot of the white players did not want to play. And I think he handled it very, very well, especially for the time. I mean, he ends up getting bricks thrown through his house, and everyone wants to get in that guy's face, and he doesn't have any of it. He's more worried about getting the players on the team, specifically the black and the white players, bringing them together at camp at Gettysburg. And you don't see it at first. There's a lot of pushing and shoving. There's a fist fight between the two main characters, in my opinion, other than the coaches, Bertier and Julius. And the relationship between those two, especially Bertier being the white guy in town and being the team captain, I think him eventually laying down the law in that movie, telling all the players, all the white guys really to, you know, block for the black running backs, even though they weren't. Him getting in everybody's faces at the camp, that eventually fires them up in that late night practice when they're only practicing in the light of the cars. And later on in the movie, you see problems for the team, such as when they go to school on the first day after the training camp. There's basically a full-on riot between the adults in the town. The police are there, and it's just typical black versus white separation in a time like that in our nation. Later on, they were saying if they lost even one game, Coach Boone, which is Denzel, would get fired. And if Yost was going to help them win, they were going to leave him out of the Hall of Fame, which ultimately, sadly, ended up happening. And I didn't catch at the end of the movie if it said if he made it or not. It only said that they continued to coach and be friends to this day. I think I read that Yost actually died a couple of years back. I think Herman Boone is still around, but ultimately, it's just it's kind of a typical story. Like Joey said, his movie's more of a gender type thing, but this movie takes place almost 30 years later, and we still see that white people in that area, I mean, I guess I'm not really going to call Virginia the South, but white people in that area were still totally not even used to black people at all, so much to the point where Bertier's mom and his girlfriend both didn't even want to meet Julius and shake his hand. I mean, it took at least 30, 45 minutes of screen time to get Bertier's mom to accept Julius, and his girlfriend, after he got hurt in that tragic car accident, she actually shook his hand before the last game, so just a story where I think everyone wins at the end.
That's your time. All right, I'm going to reset the clock here. You guys both heard each other's arguments. Joey, you get first dibs at the rebuttal. You have 2 minutes to dispute his movie. Go.
All right, well, first and the main thing I really want to hit on is that racial tensions in sports is a recycled idea that we've actually seen time and time again, Ben. We see it in Ali, Glory Road, Pride, He Got Game by Spike Lee. I mean, it's all over the place wherever you look, really. If you really want to see a sports movie with racial tensions in it, you can go to any one of these and get everything you get in Remember the Titans in each one of those. Whereas the only time we really see tensions across the genders in a sports film is A League of Their Own. And like I said before, the emotion that it actually pulls in with that too just makes it an all-around classic great movie. Also, the direction that Remember the Titans really goes in, I mean, as it progresses, it just gets more and more predictable. You know that throughout their time at camp that, okay, eventually they're going to come together, you know, they're not just going to stay hating each other throughout the whole season. And then it comes to when they're, okay, he tells Herman Boone if he loses one game, he's going to be fired. Well, it's clear that Denzel, the main character, is not going to be losing any screen time here, so we pretty much know that the Titans aren't going to be losing very many games in this film. I mean, it's just very, I don't want to say cookie cut because it is a good movie, but it's recycled very much so from previous films, and the idea itself is not that original as far as film ideas go. And also the character development, not only is it predictable, but it's not really as strong as they could have made it. Like, they could have made, like, when the white players go in and they just decide to join the team, like, they could have made them so much more, like, against that, and they just could have gone a lot stronger with the messages they wanted to send.
All right, that's 2 minutes. Gonna stop you there. Seawalls, you got 2 minutes.
All right, well, hang on. I don't even think I've seen that League of Their Own movie before.
That's fine. Give it your best shot. Then you got 2 minutes to argue his rebuttal.
Okay.
Go.
All right, well, what Joey was saying is, oh, yeah, it's a predictable movie and you know what's going to happen, but that's the whole genre of category that I picked. It's movies based on a true story. I mean, I'm sure you could open up a book somewhere and read this story. Obviously, they're not going to make a movie out of it if they're not going to win the state championship, especially a story like that. And I mean, you can say that the white players and the white people in that town could have been meaner, but I thought they were portrayed, I mean, like dicks to start off with, personally. I mean, you can only do so much for a Disney movie that you're going to rate PG and show kids. I mean, we've all seen this movie as early as elementary school. You're not going to show Klansmen riding around with pitchforks and shit like that in the middle of the night, which, I mean, I guess that's totally something else, but obviously they're going to win the games going through the season. I don't think you're going to end a movie like that on a heartbreak. And I mean, really the thing is with this that it's just the point of the story. It's a town that was totally divided gets brought together at the end, basically just on this football team's performance, which I think was, I mean, obviously high school sports were more prominent in smaller towns back then. That's really all they had because of 1971. You got a TV. You know every neighbor on your block and stuff like that. But I mean, to see the white people in this town at the end of the movie giving this guy a standing ovation on the streets in the middle of the night, I think that just goes to show what they did accomplish in this movie. And that's all I have for that. You can take the last 13 seconds.
Sounds good. Stop you there. Gentlemen, before we tally up this round, we're going to check in with our stat checker, Scott Xbox Nemi. Scott, you got anything for us?
Yeah, I got a few things here, Ben. One, talking about C. Wells. I do tell all parties about the films chosen, so the fact that he has not seen A League of Their Own is not our issue. 2, coach in baseball is actually called manager. The All-American Girls Professional Baseball League is the AAGPB. I personally saw Herman Boone at St. Norbert College. He is alive and well. At least he was a few years back. Virginia is technically the South. Confederate capital of Richmond, Virginia is the second capital of the Confederate States of America. And then all of a sudden, Sunshine wasn't actually gay per the real Herman Boone. Nobody said that, but I just wanted to get that out there.
Yeah.
Lastly, a little nugget alert for everybody listening is that Ben and myself watched this film while launching through couch cushions in his TV room.
That's true. We did.
That's all I got.
All right, time to tally this round. All right, round 1 is in the books. Before I announce who's the winner, Seawells, how do you think you did? Think you got this?
I think I did good for not coming with a note sheet like Joey.
Loser.
I agree. Joey, think you won this?
I think I choked up a little bit on the initial movie talk, but I think my rebuttal was strong enough to take the victory.
No shit.
Well, I agree. I think you did have a fairly strong rebuttal. And the winner of this first round is Joey.
Ooh,
However, with that said, Seawells, I did think for not actually seeing A League of Their Own, your rebuttal, even though it was a little short, was actually pretty good. Because Joey spent most of his time in his rebuttal talking about how
shitty my movie was.
how there was no unity in your movie and everything, but you listed off like 3 examples on how everyone in that movie did unite.
I just said it.
Colin, because you went second in the first round, you are going first in this round. And Joey, what topic did you bring for us today?
I had best Leo DiCaprio movie, Ben.
Ooh, who's that?
Come on now.
All right, Colin, you've got 3.5 minutes. State your movie and go.
All right, I took the movie The Departed, which, if you guys have seen Black Mass, it was basically that story except a less truthful version. It came out in 2006, so a decade before Black Mass did. But anyways, it's basically the story of Whitey Bulger and James Connolly, and you got Jack Nicholson as the Whitey Bulger character, the main boss. You got Matt Damon as his boy, his mole that he has in the state police in Massachusetts. Or not Massachusetts, Philadelphia. It's Southie. But, oh no, it is Boston. Never mind.
It's
Fuck.
Boston.
But, yeah, then you got Leonardo DiCaprio. He's, I guess you would say, the good guy, although he does do a lot of bad shit in that movie. He's, tries to be a cop on the same unit as Matt Damon, but they shut him down because basically his whole family, which is pretty much all dead or in jail before him, they were all criminals, mobsters, whatever, except for his dad, who's also dead. But he gets rejected, and they send him into Whitey Bulger's operation as an undercover guy. And basically, you see him at the beginning starting bar fights. I mean, he sat in jail on bogus terms. They just wanted to fake something to make him seem more credible. And so they get him in there, and then from there, basically the whole movie was intense in my opinion. You got the two sides trying to figure out who the other guy is, because I mean, Leo's constantly trying to figure out who Matt Damon is, and the other way around. You see him do drug deals, which and weapons deals. Well, it wasn't a weapons deal. It was for those computer chips that they were trying to sell to those Chinese guys. After that, you see the final drug deal, which ultimately, instead of Matt Damon saving Whitey Bulger, he ends up shooting him down on the docks at this place, right into the bucket of a truck, essentially. And after that, I mean, I'm not going to try and ruin too much of it, but he manages to flush Leo DiCaprio out of his deep cover and gets him to come into the office, and they essentially both figure out at the same time that they were the ones they were looking for. So Leo DiCaprio bugs out. He gives this tape or this envelope that says "Don't open until I tell you to the lady, the common lady in that movie. It was Matt Damon's girlfriend, but it was also Leo DiCaprio's shrink, who he ended up banging, which I thought was pretty fucking funny. And by the end, he draws him out to the top of this building where his earlier partner died, and as Leo gets Matt Damon right where he wants him. He cuffs him. He's bringing down. Sure enough, elevator door opens. Leo gets smoked. Matt Damon smokes two guys, which I thought was pretty funny. And then this rat basically has some honor, and he nominated Leo DiCaprio for the Medal of Honor at the end of the movie, which I liked. And his lady left him too. Matt Damon's lady left him because he made a tape convicting this guy of all the shit that he did wrong, basically.
All right, I'm going to stop
Leo
you there.
wins.
Leo wins. Well, the round is all Leo, so
I guess not really one, because he did get smoked, but...
All right, Joe, you've got 3.5 minutes. Let us hear it.
All right, Ben. My movie was Titanic. I think we can all know the story or have seen Titanic. Made in 97 by the great James Cameron. Like I said, everyone knows or has seen this story. This is a instant classic by Cameron. Held the top grossing spot until Avatar in 2009, which is also directed by Cameron. So, guy is a cinematic genius, no doubt. And he's got great casting and acting all around. You got DiCaprio and Winslet, who were both Golden Globe nominees for the best performance, and Winslet actually got the Oscar nominee for Best Lead Actress as well. You got Billy Zane as Kaladin Hockley, just the asshole in the film, and he does such a great job portraying that. Such a good job. And you got Kathy Bates as the unsinkable Molly Brown. This just brash kind of rich character. She's great. She really adds a lot. I want to talk about the awards that this is won 11 in total, including Best Picture, Director, Cinematography, Set Direction, Costume Design, Sound, Editing, Visual Effects, among others. And I want to say for the visual effects, wow, you can really see, like, it would have been blasphemy if this film had not gotten that, because the miniatures and like the models and the attention to detail that Cameron puts into this film is just second to none. I mean, this film is clearly more popular than The Departed. It's just a renowned tale. Everybody knows it. And I mean, it's pretty much DiCaprio's most known role. I mean, at the very least, skyrocketed into his stardom is Jack Dawson, as opposed to Billy Costigan, you know. And I think one of these reasons is because Jack Dawson, he's meshed into, like, many personalities, you know. He's a lover, a fighter, an artist, a savior. He's rough and tumbled, but he can be also well-mannered. And I feel like the cheesiness of the film kind of would have been way overplayed if you would have cast anybody but DiCaprio. Does a phenomenal job for only, like, his 10th or 11th film. He's still fairly young in this movie and still one of his best performances in his whole career, hands down. And the way that he's able to just embody Jack Dawson and bring him to life, just like it shows really clearly how great of an actor he is. And again, at such a young age, it's even more of a testament to his acting abilities. And the immaculate shots that Cameron does in those films. I mean, even just like the dishes and things falling over when the ship is going down are so well done, and there's so much detail put into them. It's amazing. The way that he also tells the story to get you invested in all the fates of all these characters. Jack, Rose, but not even that. Even Cal, who is just the biggest ass on the face of the universe, you still want to know what happens to him. And even down to minor characters like Fabrizio, the little girl Cora, who you see drown in a deleted scene, you feel bad. And the steam engine workers, you want to know what happens to them, and you see it. Hands down, a great movie. Just cannot be said again.
I feel for the blue collar man.
Yeah, right.
You think the guy that hit the propeller, you think he made it?
I don't think that guy made it.
I'm optimistic. I think
he got really fucked up when he hit the propeller and then the water, but then the boat snaps and kind of comes down on all those people. He's
That's
probably
fine.
done.
That's fine.
My favorite part of that movie was the captain going down with the ship.
Seawells, you've got 2 minutes to debate that movie. 2 minutes is yours. Go.
Well, I mean, I'm going to use the same argument he just used against me. Talk about a movie that you definitely know what's going to happen the whole time. It's the Titanic. The thing's going to crash into a fucking iceberg. 3rd grade kids know that. You knew it was going to happen the whole time. Now, he can sit here and tell you all day about how much money that this movie made, how many awards this film was nominated for and won. But just because Jay Cutler makes more money than Aaron Rodgers doesn't mean he's a better quarterback. Just because this movie is seen by more people and makes more money does not mean it's a better movie. You're talking a love story, basically. I mean, I watch this with my mother and my grandmother. It's not a movie that I'm going to sit down and watch with my old man or anything like that, any of my buddies. You're talking a movie like The Departed, classic mob story, classic crime story. I mean, you see from beginning to end, at least for me, that movie had me on the edge of my seat. The Titanic, on the other hand, movie's got to be, 3 hours long? By the time I hit the halfway point on the VHS tape and had to put in tape 2, I was like, seriously? There's more of this movie? Like, can they just hit this iceberg and drown all these people already? I don't know. To me, I think The Departed was a better movie. It's just towards my taste a little bit more. I'm not going to try and knock down the Titanic because obviously it was a great movie. I mean, it did make obviously a lot of money and stuff like that. Everyone did see it back in the day, but a lot of movies have passed that since then. And I mean, a lot of my favorite movies, just look at Pulp Fiction or Reservoir Dogs. Super low budget compared to something like that. Didn't make nearly as much money. At the end of the day, I don't think how much money you make makes your film better. I mean, it's the same case with Avatar, I guess.
I'm going to stop you there. Joey, you got 2 minutes?
I'm ready.
The floor is yours.
All right, first off, I'd just like to dissect his whole rebuttal in one line. You claim that mine, you see where it's going. Well, I'd like to inform you, Seawells, that if you would have watched the movie Internal Affairs, then you would know exactly where The Departed is going because Scorsese actually ripped The Departed off of this movie. So, there you go. I mean, there it is. Also, I'd like to add that Leo's character in The Departed just really didn't have as much depth as Jack Dawson. I mean, the emotion that he puts into this character and is able to actually embody, like, as a whole and just bring to life so much. Let's just get it out there. The death of Jack Dawson made lots of people cry. The death of Billy Costigan, it shook some people. It was shock and awe, but no tears were really shed. And I feel like if a movie's making you cry, it's a very memorable movie. I mean, everybody remembers watching Marley and Me. I mean, and also the undercover cop scenario has just been overused. I mean, we've seen it in Donnie Brasco and several others. What's that?
Never mind.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen it. We've seen it everywhere. Also, if we're talking Leo performances, not only would I give him the upper hand in Titanic versus The Departed, I would do that in The Wolf of Wall Street, Inception, What's Eating Gilbert Grape alongside Johnny Depp, where he wasn't even a lead character, because he played somebody with a mental illness in this movie, and when he showed up on the red carpet, people were astounded to see that he did not have any mental handicap whatsoever. Just really gives a testament to his acting skill
to be fair, it's
again.
best movie,
Amazing.
not best performance.
And I'd also like to add, whatever the awards that The Departed won, the Titanic pretty much matches and then some. And it's just, like I said, the attention to detail in Titanic, The Departed nowhere near comes close. I mean, not enough can be said about the Titanic. Not enough.
2 minutes, stop. You're done.
It's about the money you put into it too, bud.
Icebox, what do you got for us?
Going back to last round, Remember the Titans did not get nominated for any Golden Globe awards. A lot of BET, a lot of NAACP awards.
All the classics with a movie like that.
IMDb ranks The Departed number 42 on their top 250. Titanic is not ranked. Titanic has 11 Oscars. The Departed has 4 Oscars. Jack Nicholson is actually Frank Costello, not Whitey Bulger.
Well, Frank Costello's his
Yes.
character name, but it's based off of the Whitey Bulger James
It
Connolly
is
story.
not the Medal of Honor, it's the Medal of Merit. And Nicholson made the tapes. It was his insurance, which then he sent to DiCaprio's character.
Yeah, with the attorney, yep.
It's not the Titanic, it's Titanic. Money does not indeed tell you how good a movie is. IMDb's number 1 movie of all time is Shawshank, which was
one of my favorites, definitely.
was
top five.
$25 million in a budget and only made $28 million. Infernal Affairs is a Hong Kong crime
That's what I said.
thriller, 2002. He said Internal Affairs.
said
Go back and
Internal.
look.
He said
dude. I
Internal
Affairs.
Internal.
He said Internal. That's all I got, Ben.
With that said, I'm going to tally these up real quick.
I don't want the technicality win either.
Alright, round 2, tallied up. This time, Joey, I'm going to ask you first. How do you think you did?
I think I did well on both ones. I think I did well. It's going to be a close one.
Seawells?
I feel like I crushed it. I really liked that movie, so I was a little more fired up about that one. A little more fired up.
Alright,
I think my rebuttal was definitely better than the first
I
round.
ripped your rebuttal apart with one sentence.
I gotta say, I did like Seawell's rebuttal, but your stats don't really back anything
I
up.
like the butt.
Joey wins this round.
Holy
Here's-
shit!
Here's why. Here's
3-0.
why.
3-0.
You spent 3 minutes telling us the plot of the movie instead of why it was good. Joey just had more to back up his movie.
Titanic's definitely not a better movie.
Oh, it's
Why not?
He can spit out facts all day long, dude.
Let me
Okay,
spit this
okay.
out.
Here, this is
It's
why.
chicks
This
that
is
like
why.
the Titanic.
I
love the
Titanic.
Titanic.
Check this out. This is
Still
what
my-
Joey told us. He told us it had 11 awards. He told us it was a top-grossing spot. He told us the director James Cameron. He said he talked about Leonardo's most notable role. Talked about how it started his career. He talked about the visual effects, the models, the minis. You spent 3.5 minutes literally telling us the plot and spoiling the movie. You didn't say anything. You didn't talk about awards. You didn't even mention Scorsese, but your rebuttal was pretty good. I do like that.
Yeah, it is what it is. I mean, this guy's got an encyclopedia written down on his sheet
True.
of paper in front
Hey,
of us.
He does
You could've-
have an encyclopedia.
That's,
He's reading straight off a piece
that's
of paper.
no
This
excuse
guy's got
because he
scripted
could have
arguments.
done the exact same
That's
thing.
true.
Joey would be a terrible attorney, everyone. Let's just put it that way.
Well,
An
What does that have
attorney
to do with
comes-
anything? What?
That's
An
an
attorney
attorney
that comes prepared is bad? What are you talking about?
That's true. I do have to
He's
side
not
with
coming
him.
up with anything on the fly.
side goes to Joey on that one as well.
I will.
2-2.
Well, enough of round 2. Clearly, we're all a little heated. Cool down a little bit.
AC's
getting
running.
hot.
Go.
Seagulls needs another beer. All right. Round 3,
Ooh, thank you, Scott.
which was chosen by me.
I love this category.
Oh,
I like
suck
it.
it up already,
I
man.
like the category, but
You suck it up already.
We've got 3.5 minutes. Go.
the category we did was slashers, and for this one I chose Scream. This is made by Wes Craven in '96, who gave us, Nightmare on Elm Street, such classics, the original Hills Have Eyes, a well-known horror director, and for good reason. He's a
The
good,
man.
he knows what he's doing in the genre of horror. This guy is one of the best. So, one of the things I have to mention about Scream right away is that I really like how it calls itself out on being a horror movie, like, several times, like, a lot in it. And I think that's really funny because at the same time as it, like, being able to evoke some fear out of you and stuff, they, and in some cases it's kind of, like, under the table slid in there, like, these horror cameos that they make, and they're like, well, what's his name? Henry Winkler, the principal, comes out of the office looking for somebody playing a joke on him. You little shits, and then it's the janitor. What'd you say to me? Oh, not you, Fred, but he's wearing the classic Freddy Krueger getup, and the girl says something about this sounding like a horror movie, like we're in a horror movie, all that stuff. I really like how they do that.
Deadpool
It's kind
type horror
like
movie almost.
it's like a comedic relief almost, but at the same time, they're still evoking these feelings of fear and suspense in the movie, which I thought was great. And I really like the fact in Scream that they have 2 killers, because this brings a combo of basically your classic killer personalities. You have Billy, the serious, methodical, he's thought a lot about this, he has a motive for this, and he's coming in, he knows what he wants to do, and he's going to execute. And then you have Stu, the goofy, impulsive, kind of just straight up psychotic, just plain psychotic killer. And what Scream does is they mesh that into one and team them up, and I really like how they do that. I think that really brings a lot to the film, having 2 personality, two more possible people that could be the man under the mask. Also, the classic costume of the Ghostface Killer. It was probably one of the most coveted Halloween costumes of that year. I remember, like, a few years later, going out trick-or-treating and stuff, and there were still ghost faces everywhere.
I rocked that mask for a
Everywhere.
couple
And
of
that's
years.
at least 3 or 4 years after it had initially come out. The popularity is there, and it's not going away. Nev Campbell, I think, did a really great job playing the awkward, already traumatized by events in her life teenager in high school. She doesn't, the boyfriend can't touch her, she's stutters over words and is kind of awkward in social interaction, and the first time I saw that, I kind of just thought that was like a knock on her acting. But then as I go back and watch it more and more, you really see that it is intentional, and it's a very good acting job by on the part of Neve Campbell. They got all the classic personalities in horror films. You know, you got the timid victim, the hot bimbo, the boyfriend / hero. What this film gives us that's new is Randy, the expert. And I love the character of Randy. It's a great film, great character.
I'm going to stop you there. That's 3.5 minutes. He should have dropped the "I'll be right back." Right back. C. Wells, you've got 3.5 minutes to tell us about your movie. Your time starts now.
I just want to say before I start, I love Scream. I was a little sad when I heard that he picked that. That's one of my all-time favorites. But anyways, I took the original Friday the 13th from '83. Yeah, he can make his thumb down fart noises all he wants to, but I mean, you heard him talking about Wes Craven. It was between 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street for me. And I mean, like any early 80s film that kind of brought this genre into the mix, pretty poorly made, especially when you watch it these days. I mean, I remember the first time I even saw this movie in Friday the 13th. I was kind of just laughing my way through it, but without CGI and stuff like that, you see that with movies like this back in the day. They actually had to build suspense. So, I mean, it's the fact that Camp Crystal Lake was already cursed. There's that creepy bastard in town telling him not to go, and he actually makes it out to the camp. That was probably one of my favorite parts of that movie. But the townspeople are telling all these kids and counselors not to go out to the camp and all this. Because the kid drowned and the two people that are about to hook up got slashed up the next time. And yeah, like I said, they do a good job of building suspense, because later in the movie, I'm bad with character names in movies like this, really, because the plot in these movies are never that great. But they hook up on that bunk bed, and the lady goes to the bathroom, and while this is happening, the blood comes down from the top bed onto this guy, and as soon as he lifts his finger up and notices that it's blood, shanked right from underneath the mattress, right through the throat. And I mean, the thing I love about movies like this definitely is when somebody dies, it cuts away from it while they're getting hit with an axe or whatever it be. And then when it cuts back, they just got the fake blood and whatever it is. I mean, the one lady gets the axe to the forehead, or a lot of people get their throat slit. I just think the cheesiness and stuff like that, I mean, it may seem cheesy to us now, but back in the day, at least according to my mother, I mean, I don't know if she's going to be the most credible one in these movies, but
Sure she is.
she told me that after she saw Nightmare on Elm Street, she was having trouble sleeping for a week. She said her poster fell off her wall in the middle of the night. The night that she saw it, she woke up screaming. So, I mean, back in the day, I'm sure that these movies were great to watch. I mean, especially you're talking 1983. To see all the blood and stuff like that, which I think is, I mean, definitely more common now as compared to back in the late 70s, early 80s. That was, I thought it was great, really. They built it up the whole time. Of course, who can forget Jason coming up out of the lake at the end? The first time I saw that part actually scared the shit out of me. I was watching that movie and I jumped back probably 3-4 inches on my couch. I don't know if it was the music, which, I mean, they utilized the music really well back then, but he comes out and he pulls that lady down, Alice. That's the one.
Without spoiling anything, how'd you like the ending?
I liked the ending. I did. And I mean, obviously we knew once she said Mrs. Voorhees, we knew she was going to be the killer because we've all seen multiple movies. Obviously, it's Jason Voorhees, but my last sentence here, I'm at 3.5 minutes. I just want to say you'll still see Jason masks to this day on Halloween as well.
Very true.
Awesome.
Very true.
Good round.
Win or lose, I'm not even going to be sad if I lose to Scream, because I fucking love Scream.
I did say without spoiling anything, and you kind of did. But that's all
You
right.
spoiled it before you even said that.
Joey, rebuttal, 2 minutes, go.
Alright, well, I like in Scream that they actually have a materialized killer until before the whole end of the movie. That I feel like brings more to the movie when you're actually able to see, even if it is a man in a mask and costume, it's somebody there. You can see the raw action happening as it is. The chase scenes, which are very, very instrumental to horror movies, are way more effective when you can actually see the killer in the background giving chase instead of just, nothing and then suddenly an arm with a butcher knife. I mean, budget and stuff like that aside for Friday the 13th, an arm with a knife and swinging and then back to just a mutilated corpse. I really feel like Scream is able, the way it's able to actually go through the whole scene of the killing and the slashing in the slasher film, it brings more to it than just a cut to an arm and then a cut back to just a mutilated body. I feel like it brings more emotion to it. I think that the idea is a little more, like the whole idea as a whole, the whole storyline as a whole is a little more, granted, it's a slasher film, so you really got to take realisticness with a grain of thought, or a grain of salt. Realistically, they can put themselves in the place of these characters, high school students, small town where tragic things have happened, instead of just, a group of teenagers going to a haunted lake. It's more real. And if you're able to better put yourself in these characters' shoes, it's going to make for a scarier experience, more suspenseful experience. Again, I'd like to say that in Friday the 13th, you really don't know who's doing the killing until the end, which I feel takes away from it at the same time as giving into it a little bit because, again, budget aside, the cut of an arm is not... And again, lastly, I'd just like to say there was no CGI used in Scream either, yet it still is able to evoke fear and suspense in a way that Friday the 13th wasn't able to.
Me here. You're at 2:18.
My rebuttal,
I never
bitch.
said there's
I'll
no
cut into your
CGI
rebuttal
in
then.
Scream. I'm not going to go over 2 minutes. I can tell you that right
You
now.
were just... Scream did, in fact, also not use CGI, but still was able to evoke fear and suspense in a way that...
Alright, how long is this kid's
wasn't
rebuttal
able.
going to be?
That's not part of the
slow
rebuttal.
down.
You guys are giving me shit and I'm defending myself.
All right,
That's
Seawells, you've got 2 minutes. Go.
I'm not going to sit here and talk smack about Scream because I've already said it 3 times. I love this movie. But what I'm saying is, without movies like Friday the 13th, Halloween, Nightmare on Elm Street, there would be no movies like Scream. You got to pay respects to the classics. Obviously, the slasher, it's good. It's good in Scream because he's right. Everything he said I'm going to agree with. But you got to... Obviously, the first-person point of view cameras in Friday the 13th aren't... they're not going to scare you as much today, but I'm going to go back to the point where if you talk to people that were seeing this movie when it came out, this had them pissing their pants, basically. This had them scared shitless. The music in that movie was good. The score, whatever you want to call it. But I thought, as far as making do with what they had, way lower of a budget than Scream. I don't know exact dollar amounts, but it's got to be a huge difference. For what they had and what they did, and look at where the series is at now compared to the Scream series, everybody knows Friday the 13th. I'm sure mostly everybody knows Scream too, but Friday the 13th, they're probably going to keep making movies. They're just up to Scream. They're up to Scream 5 now, right?
Scream Stories series is actually still going. They actually made a TV show too.
Oh, wow. Well, I guess you learn something new every day.
Yeah.
Well, other than that, I don't really have anything to say because it's going to be tough for me to bash Scream. I really like that movie.
All right, stop.
I think my main point is just the classics. They get you where you're at today.
Excellent point. I'm going to stop you there. Going to tally this up real quick here. Before I do, Scott, Icebox Nemi, you got anything for us?
Yeah, I do, Ben. A few things here. Friday the 13th was made in 1980, not 1983.
Ooh.
Scream actually gives away the killer in Friday the 13th in the beginning scene. The budget for Jason or Friday the 13th was $550,000. Scream was actually $15 million. So,
Wow. That's a huge
That's
difference.
all I got, Ben.
All right, thanks.
I'd like to
Icebox.
say, dude, you'd probably have Nightmare on Elm Street without Friday the 13th, because Friday the 13th only came out after they saw the success that Halloween had. Do I get the elusive 3-0? That's the big question.
Do you get the elusive 3-0? Well, do you think you did?
I don't know. This one was probably the closest argument of them all, I'd say.
I agree. Seawells, what do you think?
I'm a gambling man, and I'd say the spread's even on this one.
Icebox, what do you think?
You know, I can't see a 3-0 going to Jane Eames. I just can't see it.
Fuck you.
Well, Scott,
I just
news
wanted
for
to
you.
not get the broom out. I just wanted to not get swept.
I got news for you all. The winner, Seawells.
Yeah!
By 1 point.
I
He's
came
still
in the
on.
underdog.
Okay.
Here's
By 1
why.
point.
Here's why. This was
What was-
so close. But what the main thing is that gave him that extra point for me is that he talked about how the fear was just instilled in all those people back then. Like, it's an original horror movie. It's an original slasher classic. But that was just, like, what gave me that extra point. A lot of what you guys said was relatively the same, so a lot of it was a wash. But it was definitely the closest of the rounds, considering round 2 was just a slaughter by Joey. But with that said, everybody, we do
Well done.
appreciate you tuning in to the 3rd episode of Film Eat Film. Feel free to like, subscribe.
I'll come more prepared next time.
1-1,
To
bitch.
the
You're gonna need that encyclopedia.
72 listeners or whatever you guys are at now.
We're
I don't
growing.
even know. How to
Yeah, you're
use
growing,
it.
definitely.
We want 30.
Is it
We want 30
72?
viewers. We're gonna have a code giveaway if we get 30 30 subscribers. So
Well, yeah, why don't you guys subscribe? I mean,
Why don't you guys share
Hey.
this shit too, huh?
Hey,
I
don't
share it
have
every time I listen
to-
to
Don't
it.
yell at our viewers, Seawells.
You gotta
right?
get them riled up. I'm sorry.
Seawells,
That's
you have
that's
something
more-
plugged, don't you?
Yeah, that's more of what's going on my podcast. I got a podcast that I'm uploading this weekend for the first time. It's gonna be called Eye of the Hurricane. It's just me rambling about shit,
Okay.
stuff that's going on. I like talking sports. I like talking movies, and then me just bitching about aspects of everyday life that I pick up on, I guess.
And we know who you are when you subscribe. We give you props. for
You
that.
do get rewards if you subscribe.
If you want to
Yeah.
be on the show, reach out to us. Let us know. Feel free to
Like, comment, subscribe, share.
comment topics you want to hear. We're listening. With that said, Movie Munchers, until next week, take care.